What's up, everybody? Welcome. I guess back to the shift. I don't want to say
Back,
this is the first,
back.
sort of.
We're here.
We're here. I mean, we're here. You know what? Screw that. We're here. This is the shift. That's all that matters. Nick, I'm glad that we finally, got to start this. Been excited. I've been revving up, obviously for baseball, but more so for this pod. So man, I'm ecstatic that we finally get to do episode 1. We're here. What's up, man?
Dude, I've been so hyped for this. I mean, this has been a little bit in the works for a while now. And baseball season's here. Football season's over. It's transitioning into the nice spring season, Clearwater, sunflower seeds. Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for
Yeah.
baseball season this year. We're gonna have a lot to talk about throughout the entirety of the season. We're gonna have fun though. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this show. We hope you, the listener, enjoys this. And we've put together a lot of stuff going forward for the shift. So we're real excited about it. I'm excited to join you because you started this yourself. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm glad you asked me. Man, let's get to it.
Yeah, and we had to go do our little promo tour,
We did.
for a second. We had to go do our
It was
interviews
like we
and
were
our
promoting a movie. It was like we were
yeah,
promoting a
I mean,
movie. That's pretty much what happened.
go. We were the sports radio airwaves. We had to do the promotion and shout out to those stations and whatnot. We had to do our thing on social media. Like that's what we got to
Yeah.
do. So, but we're here. That's all that matters.
21st century type things that I'm helping you out with too, because you're a little up there. You're a little up
Right.
there in age.
Yeah. I'm
So
like I'm like
I'm
50.
kidding.
Right.
Yeah, you're like your old man. You're an old man.
Yeah, I'm very old. That's why you're the little TikToker.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna be.
Well,
Listen, I'm gonna be posting the TikToks on here. That was made my job by you because you're old.
right.
You don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing
Automatically
yet
by
with
default.
social media. So I'm only kidding. But no, we're gonna be everywhere. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be
Right.
promoting the heck out of this show.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of TikTok, go follow our page, the underscore shift underscore.
Look
I
at that.
tried to
Look at
get the
you.
shift
Little
because that
plug.
that would be I know because it would be a lot easier just to do the shift, but TikTok wouldn't let me because it's been already taken. I get it. The shift's it's like a what's the word? It's a very common
Yeah, but it's banned now.
name
It's
saying.
banned.
So
It
it's
is
banned,
banned now,
right?
though. It is
Right.
banned
So
now.
I guess in a way we're lucky, right?
I guess. I think so. I think we're
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
lucky.
Yeah, screw TikTok. All right, just kidding. Just kidding. We want that platform. Okay, so Nick, let's get right to it, man. Obviously, we have to talk about the number one thing that we're going to talk about here, or the first thing that we have to talk about because it's the freaking name of the show. It's the shift. It's
The
being
shift.
banned. Obviously, we're gonna get to some of these other rules in just a second, but it's only right that we talk about the shift. And technically, there's still things you're able to do, and we're gonna get to that in a second. But Nick, let's talk about the shift. Um, what what are your initial thoughts just on the rule change going into the season? What are your thoughts?
I'm okay with it. I did get to see a little bit of it in the minor leagues, how it was played out. I'm okay with it. Some people really don't want to see the shift banned. I'm cool with it. It's gonna allow for more offense, in my estimation. Not a ton, not as much as people think. I think you're gonna see a lot more ground balls. You're not gonna see as many guys trying to utilize the launch angles that try and hit pop ups, home runs, try and hit it over the shift. You're not gonna see that a lot as much. But to think that it's going to be such a drastic change in the game, I think that's a little overboard. It's not. It's not going to make this gigantic jump in offense. It's gonna enhance offense. I feel like a lot. You're going to see a little more ground balls, but I'm cool with it. I think this is where the game's going. You need more offense in the game. You want the younger generation to start being involved in baseball, watching baseball. So you want to see a little more offense. I mean, pitchers have been dominating for how long now? Let's give a little bit of an inch to the offensive players and the hitters. So yeah, I'm cool with it. I don't think it's going to be this drastic change in the game that some people think. But yeah, I'm okay with some of these rule changes. I think they're going to be beneficial for baseball going forward.
Yeah. So Nick, the kind of thing that I equated to, I know you're like 15 years old, so you might not remember this. But before Ryan Howard, because I remember, Ryan Howard came up in '05, and '06 he had his big, 58 home run
He
year,
did.
and no one was shifting then. No one was shifting then yet. But after that season is when people started shifting on Ryan Howard.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah, skyrocketed. And for me, just during that time period, I specifically remember Ryan Howard getting shifted on every single time he was up to the plate, no matter who he was playing. And it was just specifically Ryan Howard at that point, right? It wasn't. I'll get to the Tampa Bay Rays in a couple of seconds here, but Ryan Howard specifically got shifted on. And it was really, and obviously as a Phillies fan, it was really, really aggravating because it was every time he would hit a missile in the right field, and the second baseman, it's freaking Marco Scutaro, making the catch out there in right field, and I'm like, what is this? What is this crap? And then so it was just Ryan Howard at that point, right? But fast forward to 2011, those good old Tampa Bay Rays that we did beat in the '08 World Series. Joe Madden, those Tampa Bay Rays decided, hey, we're just going to shift on. We're going to play to the analytics, and I understand play to the numbers for and it's a smart thing to do. Don't get me wrong. Every team's done it at this point, after the Tampa Bay Rays, but they did the smart thing. They decided, hey, we're going to shift on every single hitter that we see. And that is where we've gotten to the point now where we had to ban the shift because, hitters were basically the way that they were trying to adjust was, let's just try to hit it over the fence. Let's just try to, either walk or we're hitting the bomb. And part of that was the shift, so it's that's gotten to the point we're at now, Nick, with the shift being banned.
No, I got a stat for you. So, after 2011, after the Ryan Howard saga with the shift, right? 2015 to 2022. So about a 7-year span, right? 2,065 ground balls were taken away because of the shift, right? You add them back. What was the batting average over that time frame? 243. If you put all those ground balls back and their base hits, it goes up to 255. So it's kind of substantial if you look at it that way. You're taking away base hits. So it's going to help throughout the entirety of baseball. If you look at it on a broad spectrum, all the teams, every game, right? It's going to make the numbers go up. It's going to jump. But on a per game basis, I think you might have one or two more base hits from the Bryce Harpers, those type of players who are always grounding out into the shift, it feels like. So I think on a per game basis, it's not going to be this gigantic wave of, it's going to change the game dramatically. But if you look at the season as a whole and every single team, every single game, you're going to see those numbers jump this year because you're not going to have 3 players on one side of the field for all these type of pull hitters and power hitters. So I think it's going to make a difference, and I'm excited because you want to see these guys get base hits. You want to see more offense implemented into the game. I mean, if you just take a look at the World Series last year, 38% of the time, the Phillies and Astros utilized the shift. The MLB average is 34%. So it was just going to continue to rise, and I think it was it's great timing to now move on and try and make the game a little bit better, a little bit more entertaining on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And man, let's also I think that the shift it's perfect timing to go along with these other rule changes, man. I think let's get to all of these, man. So we talked about the shift here. Obviously we had to because of the name,
it was the only way we could start the show.
Right. It's a continuing theme for the show. Okay, so but this isn't the last time we're gonna be talking about the shift, obviously too, because once the season starts and once we get a decent enough sample size of the numbers and just how the game looks, with the shift, we're definitely gonna talk about it a lot more. So in the coming months, definitely we're talking about it a lot more. But let's talk about some of these other rule changes, man. Also, before I get to these rule changes, also go check out our YouTube channel. I'm going to have the link to that. It's on my Twitter. It's on Instagram. all of our platforms. Go make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's just The Shift on YouTube. To search for it, The Shift Baseball. You'll find it. So go make sure you find it. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because a couple of weeks ago, Nick, I did a video on, which rule change I thought was going to be the most beneficial for baseball, in the near future. And I picked one of these. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to do that. Like, why am I going to tease it and tell you, and then you're not going to go watch it? So I'm going to make sure that I tease this correctly. Okay.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
So go make sure. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. So go make sure you watch that video where I talk about which one I think is the most beneficial. So Nick, I'm going to kind of let you talk a little bit more about these other rule changes, just because I kind of spoke about them, on the YouTube channel. So Nick, let's talk about the pitch timer, because you have some experience with the pitch timer.
I do.
Mr. Blue Rocks. So let's explain to the audience first what your role was last season, right? That's correct.
Yeah, it was last season.
Yeah. So to talk about your role with the pitch timer last season.
Yeah. So along with my duties calling the games down in Wilmington last year, I was on the pitch clock, so I got to utilize the pitch timer. I was in charge of it. I was, hitting the buttons, as they say, hitting the buttons, dealing with the umpires last year. And, I think it was a good thing, because if you look at the numbers through the minor league systems, right? AAA, AA, single A, high A, low A, obviously. The game did move quicker. It did. It's around 20 to 30 minutes, between all three of the leagues, four of the leagues. It made a difference. It did make a difference. I think what has to happen with the pitch clock is that there has to be a consistency founded, right? Because what I had seen is some of the rules were being interpreted differently by umpires on when to start the timer, when not to start the timer. So it was a lot about feel when I would run the clock, like on certain situations, right? Like, hey, there was a foul ball. A ball got away. They're switching baseballs out with the ball boy or something. You have to figure out when to start the clock there. And for some umpires, they wanted you to start it pretty quickly. Some wanted you to wait. And, they'd give you the signal, hey, start it now. Or sometimes they tell you to wait and turn off the clock. So I think what needs to happen in Major League Baseball, just on implementing the pitch clock, right, and the timer, is they have to find the consistency. And that's going to take time. It's something that, you have to be on the same page with the umpires. All the umpires should be on the same page. You shouldn't have to go through all these leaps and bounds to try and figure out, all right, are we going to do this or are we going to do this game? So one example I found was when they would switch pitchers, right? Go to the bullpen. Some umpires wanted you to start, which was the rule written in stone, that some umpires wanted you to start the clock, right, when the pitcher from the bullpen crossed into the outfield, right, past the warning track. That's when the clock should start, in between pitches, so they had enough time to warm up and get ready to go. So they had to get the pitch off before the clock went to zero. Some umpires didn't want you to start the clock until they got to the mound and started throwing. That was one of the inconsistencies I found. So some of this is all about getting consistent. And I think MLB is going to kind of find that out this year, the way they've utilized it in the minor leagues. So I think consistency is going to be huge. Now, as for the players, listen, the pitchers, I can tell you they did not like it. They did not like being rushed.
I was going to say, they got pissed.
They were not. I can tell you they were not fans of it. They don't want to be rushed. And these are young pitchers. These are 20-something-year-olds, early 20s, draft picks, young players. I'm very curious to see how veteran players, the Zach Wheelers of the world, the Verlander, Madison Bumgarner, all these veteran, how are they going to adjust? I'm very curious to see how that
suck it up.
Out.
That's what I say. Suck it the heck up.
But listen, I think it's good. It just needs to find that consistency. And I think after a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, in the minors, I think they're going to be able to figure that out and find a way to get whoever's running the clock as well as the umpires on a consistent basis. Because I think it's turned into a good thing. At first, I was like, if you asked me a couple years ago, I'm like, no, you're going to ruin the game, But I think it's gonna speed up the game. We know how people's attention spans are, and I think it's going to be good. But I'm very curious to see how the veteran players adjust. Hitters as well, because they can get that automatic strike called on them if they're taking too long out
I
of the
love it.
box.
I
So
think it's dope.
I've seen people strike out in big spots because of an automatic strike in the minor leagues. They're not too happy with it. So just, these veteran players have to be prepared for some little adjustments, and they're gonna have to be a little bit rushed, and so are the pitchers.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, here's what I say, Nick. These guys, all these players, are gonna have to get the heck used to it. Everything we bitch about, right, Nick? We're both football fans as well. Like
Yeah.
there was a seven there. We went from 16 games to 17 games. We're all like, oh my god. Oh, 1 second. I'll edit this. Stop it. Jesus Christ. Actually, I shouldn't edit that. My cats are just hissing at each other, trying to murder each other.
They're not happy with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
They're going to get
they're
called
not
out
happy.
on
Well, they
strike.
got to suck it up too. They got to suck it up. And I don't know, they better be okay with these disengagements, these pickoff limits too, which I want to get to. That's a great segue, Nick.
Heck of a segue. Look at us. We're already doing a good job doing this, right?
I'll give all the credit to my cats. All the credit to Benny and Tony Saragusa. So as I was saying, all right. So we go from the pitch timer to the pickoff limits, which is technically within the whole pitch timer rule here. So basically what it is the pitcher only gets, I think is it 3, Nick, right? Three limit?
I think it's
limited
2.
3 pickoff?
I think MLB it's 2.
Right. Two, and then on the third, if they try it on the third, right?
Yep.
Then it's an automatic ball.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, and like Nick, you know what? I talked about this a lot in my video. Spoiler alert. So you talk about this because I'm very intrigued with this. I love this one. I think it creates a lot more intensity. I think it creates a lot. I think it's very intriguing. So I want to get your thoughts for sure.
Yeah. You're not going to have the John Lesters of the world wouldn't be too affected by this, right? They who don't throw over a ton. I think you're going to see some more stolen bases. I think it's going to make the game a little more fun. And when you're not able to throw over as many times and try and pick someone off, especially a Trey Turner of the world who the Phillies signed in the offseason, you're not going to be able to throw over 3 times. You're going to have to keep an eye on them. But I think it adds another element to the game that, hey, pitchers can't throw over. They can't really pay attention to the runner as much because, hey, they're probably going to take off if they're a speedster, right? Because you're not going to be able to be like, hey, I'm keeping an eye on you. I'm not throwing over 3-4 straight time. I can only throw over twice now. So it's going to be, I'm interested to see the communication between pitchers and catchers now, right? Because now you're going to have, I think stolen bases are going to go up. It's going to happen. This was the idea with this. So I'm interested to see in the majors, because the minors, you can get an idea, you can get kind of a feel, right, for how these rules are going to be implemented. But the majors is still a different ball game. It's still a different idea from going from AAA to the bigs. So I'm very curious to see what the communication between pitchers and catchers, managers as well, how they're going to be implemented this year. Like, right, how are you going to be on the same page with your catcher, your first baseman? Are you going to, how many times and at bat are you going to utilize these throwovers? Are you going to use it on the first pitch? You can then go to the plate and then throw over. Like, it's going to add so much more strategy, I think, to the game in the minds of pitchers.
Was this implemented in the minors last year?
Yes,
I think it was,
yes,
right?
It was.
What did you think?
I liked it because now guys are stealing all over the place, right?
I love it. Us as Phillies fans, man. Trey Turner's about to steal 60 bases this year. I'm excited.
I love it. Yeah, we get touch the Ricky Henderson record, right? I mean, can we get there? Can someone get there now?
Go back to the Sean Figgins of the world. Remember Sean Figgins?
Yes.
I hated Jose Reyes, but I'll mention him because he was a big base stealer. Yes. Jose Reyes. Even go back to, I guess the current players nowadays would be Trey Turner, Billy Hamilton. I don't even know how much playing time Billy Hamilton gets anymore.
Billy Hamilton. Oh my God. He was ridiculously
so
fast.
So quick. Unbelievable speed. Even at the age he's at now, I think he's still got super crazy burners. So I think we're both in agreement that the pickoff limits with the pitch timer are good for the game, correct? I think we're both in agreement there.
Yes. The thing about these rule changes, I think they're subtle enough to make different. They're subtle enough not to make gigantic differences in the game, but they're subtle enough to make these little adjustments that are going to enhance the game. If you know what
Yeah,
I'm
and there's
kind of
nothing.
saying there.
No, 100%. And there's nothing wrong. And I mentioned this before. There's nothing wrong with taking baby steps. Like there's
Yeah,
not going to be an overnight rule change that automatically baseball is going to be where it was in 1999. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's nothing. Look, in 1998 to 2001, the reason why baseball was so big, man, was because of the home runs and the steroids. Let's be
well,
100%.
yeah,
Like not everyone knows that. So like that. Obviously, I'm not putting anything out there that's not already obvious. But the thing is, with these rule changes, I think they're good for for baby steps for the sport of baseball. That's what they're good for, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the game not getting back to mainstream prominence by next year with these rules. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah. Well, yeah. What's the main factor in this, right? It's to make money for Major League Baseball. I mean, we
Of
know
course.
that's what it's for. It's to make money. It's to grow the game, have more fans be engaged, have the younger generation be more engaged. Because we know that's been a problem. Marketing's been a problem for Major League Baseball for a long time. They can't market their stars for some reason. That's a whole nother issue that I have with Major League Baseball at times. But no, these are subtle changes that I was skeptical of for a while, especially the pitch clock. And then I ended up working it. And I got to see how it adjusted the game. It's going to make the games go a little faster. I mean, these 4.5 hour games, it can be long for some people. I mean, you and I will sit there. I could sit in an empty stadium and be fine. You know what I mean? But
Same here.
for the
Yep.
average fan, the new fan coming up, they don't have these attention spans that are so long that I want to sit through a 3.5 hour game and watch it on television. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're
So
on
to add
TikTok. I know.
Yes, exactly. To add, I'm not part of that generation, by the way. I'm not part of
Yes, you
that.
are.
I have a quick.
Yes, you are.
I,
You're like Gen
but
whatever. You're like
but hey,
Gen.
I'm Gen Z. I'm Gen Z. But I will sit. I want to sit through and watch an entire baseball game. Some of these other people don't. that are coming up
Right.
in the Gen Z world, right? So the idea is to kind of grow the game, get the younger people involved. It's about making money for Major League Baseball.
I agree.
The baseball lifers who definitely are probably not fans of banning all this stuff or adding all this stuff into the game. I mean, it's just where it's going. It's how people are affected. You're going to have to adapt to the market. And Major League Baseball, they've had trouble doing that for a while. So
Yeah. And so before we get to our next topic, let's just really quick. The bigger bases, I think they kind of go along with the
yeah,
with the whole stolen bases thing, with the pitch, with the
the
pickoff
throw over.
disengagements.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it goes along perfectly with that, and apparently it's supposed to help injury wise as well, limit injuries. So I'm a fan. Nick, are you a fan?
Yeah, I think it just kind of goes hand in hand. I don't think it's this crazy change making them bigger. I don't, it for me, I think the not being able to throw over more than twice, 2 or 3 times, you know what I mean? I think that's more of going hand in hand with the stolen base thing. I think that's more of growing the stolen base category. I think that's more important to it. The bigger bases. I don't think they're as prevalent to me. Just in my opinion, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, but it's going to help. It's definitely going to help.
Yeah.
Making sure players reach base safely when they steal.
I mean, it's only what? It's like only a 3-inch difference. Did you see
Yeah,
that? You texted me. I know you
yeah.
texted me this, but
I was like, what? This it can't be right, right? Like,
no,
I'm like, what?
no. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, there was, and I swore it seemed like it was a legitimate source. Whoever tweeted it out, but I don't think it was.
I think they were
There was a
duped.
Yeah, they were duped. There was a picture going around that like the size of the new base paired with the size of the quote unquote old base now, and it was like 3 times the size. It looked like an extra large pizza from Pizza Hut next to a personal pan pizza from Pizza
It
Hut,
did.
and you mentioned that to me. So I don't like. I agree with you. I think that it's not going to. Now that I think about it, 3 inches isn't a crazy change, but it's definitely going
A
to
little
help
bit.
with the stolen bases. It's definitely going to add a little bit of incentive. So
Yeah. Cut down a couple of inches. It makes a difference. A guy like JT Real Muto trying to throw a guy out who has a great arm. it can make a difference, those couple of inches, especially if you're throwing on a fast runner. So it could make a slight difference. I don't think it's going to be this major thing, though.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's get into our next little segment here, and this is going to be something we're going to do over the next 3 weeks before the season starts. So me and Nick decided, instead of previewing the entire the entirety of Major League Baseball right now and getting into every division in one episode, we couldn't do that because we'd be here for 4 hours and we'd probably lose all of our initial listeners on this podcast.
Yes.
So I think we're a little smarter than that. So
a little bit.
Today, let's be real. I'm just gonna flat out say it. We're gonna preview the bottom 2 divisions in baseball. Like let's just keep it a buck, Nick.
Yeah,
so
they're the bottom 2. Not as intriguing as the other divisions. Can't wait for the final week.
I will say this though. There is some intrigue. Let's get into it. There is some intrigue. We're gonna start with the American League Central. Coming off, I think Cleveland was the winner last year. Cleveland took the Yankees to 5 games in the divisional series last year. Cleveland plays good baseball, man. If you're a baseball lifer, like you like the Cleveland Guardians and their style of baseball, what they like to do. They're not a power hitting baseball. They did add some power though, which we're going to get into. Nick, let's start with AL Central. What are your kind of thoughts? I mean, the White Sox were supposed to be World Series contenders for the next 5 years to come. They finished, I think, barely 500 last year, if I'm not mistaken. There's some intrigue. Carlos Correa is back in the division. So, Nick, let's start. What are your kind of initial thoughts just on the entirety of the division?
I'm glad you brought up Carlos Correa. He played for like 5 teams this offseason, it felt like. He bounced around. I mean, it was ridiculous what happened in free agency. But no, I mean, this is going to be, I think it's going to be, we say this isn't as much of a intriguing division as the others, but it very well could turn out to be. If you look at the betting lines, right, the over, under, and loss and wins heading into this year, the Guardians are 87.5 according to BetMGM. The White Sox are 83.5, and the Twins are at 82.5 wins, right? So I kind of find that interesting. I think the Twins are going to be a little bit better than 83 wins this year. I think they make a little bit of a jump. I like them offensively, adding back Correa. I think that's huge for them. If they lost him, then 82.5 wins might make a little more sense. But I think the Twins are going to be a good team. I still think this is Cleveland's division, though. They have guys like Jose Ramirez. They have some power in that lineup. And they got to the divisional round and almost got to the pennant last year. So I think these are teams that it's going to be a closer division than I think people realize. I think the White Sox are a team that kind of underachieved last year, but I think they make their way up in the standings this year. Could be in play for that final wild card spot. So these are teams that I think in the AL Central are going to be close in the win-loss category, especially where the betting lines have them. But yeah, I think this is the Guardians' division to lose. I mean, they've played good baseball for the past couple of seasons. They looked great last year. I like where they're at. I mean, they have guys all over the place. Andre Jimenez, another guy that has played well. Shane Bieber is lights out
last year, man.
Yeah, lights out in Shane Bieber. I mean, so listen. They have some studs in Cleveland. I just don't think they're going to lose this division to the White Sox or Twins. I think they're both right there, but I think they're wild card type teams.
Yeah, me too. So like, I agree with you on the Correa thing, but the crazy thing here's my thing about Minnesota, right? They could be, and this is legitimate, they could be a 65 to 70 win team if Correa can't stay healthy, because he's still, he has played the last couple of years. He has played, he's played a good amount of games. So I give him credit. That's great. But you look at the entirety of his career, he's had injury problems. The reason why he didn't sign with the New York Mets and San Francisco Giants this year is because there are injury concerns about his the bamboo in his ankle, going forward for the next 5 to 10 years. So I think I know it's kind of not maybe I don't want to say not the smart thing to say, but I mean, look, at the entirety of his career, he hasn't really been able to stay healthy. And the even bigger one for me, man, is that I'm definitely not betting on, because he hasn't been able to prove it in his entire career. And we understand the hype around this guy and the talent. I mean, when he's on the field, he's arguably a top 3 player in baseball. Is Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton is unbelievable. He's awesome to watch. I want him to stay healthy, and I think it would be great for baseball, not only for just the division we're talking about, but just the entirety of baseball. Byron Buxton is huge, man. He's the biggest X factor for the Twins this year. He played 92 games last year, man, and he put up, I think he had like, I want to say he had like a 5B WAR, 4B WAR, or something like that. Buxton is absolutely crucial for them, because I'm saying, man, if Buxton doesn't at least play 100 to 120 games,
they're not winning.
They don't have a shot against Cleveland.
No shot.
Yeah.
No shot. I mean, Buxton, with Buxton, it's been so interesting to follow his career, because when he came up, he was this gigantic superstar prospect, and he came up, he's kind of hasn't really lived up to it. But when he's able to stay healthy and stay on the field, he is legit. He is ridiculously good, can hit the heck out of the baseball. So listen, it's about health for the Twins. It's always going to be about health for the Twins. It's going to be about Correa. It's going to be about their top players in Buxton and those guys. So if the Twins can stay healthy, they have a very good shot of competing really close with Cleveland. Now, I do want to throw this out there with the White Sox, though, because Fangraphs, they project 24 players from the Central to produce at least 2.5 wins above replacement this year, and the White Sox lead with 9. So it's interesting. I mean, they have Anderson, they have Robert, like they have these guys that can produce. I just don't know if you're going to beat Cleveland, because Cleveland just plays such good fundamental baseball, and they find a way to win games.
Right. It's not sexy baseball, but it's good enough. No. And they're always good, man. They're always, and we didn't even talk about their bullpen. You've got
it's ridiculous.
Class A Karinchak, and I think Trevor Stepan's the other guy. They are a pitching, what do we call it? The quarterback factory here in Philadelphia with the Eagles. They are a pitching factory in Cleveland. That's exactly what they are. And Class A is one of the nastiest closers in the game. Karinchak, one of the nastiest setup guys in the game. They're always good pitching wise. And that's the one thing you can count on with them. And that's why I like Cleveland to win this division. That's why I like them to win the division. I'd go probably like 94 to 95 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Cleveland does win this division. I can't pick against them. They have a good foundation, a good roster, fantastic pitching, good young players. I think Cleveland wins this division again. I think the Twins find a way to come in second. I think the White Sox, I'm just not sold. I'm not sold on the White Sox yet. I need to see a little more from them on the bump. And I need to see more consistency out of the White Sox. So I'm gonna go with you. I think the Guardians do win this division.
Well, so here's my one question: How much of are you? And we never had this conversation. How much of are you a believer in how much managers matter in baseball?
I think they do. Didn't the Phillies kind of prove it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so they are the exception. I'm not a big believer in managers really, really matter at the end of the day. I really think it's the players. But I think Rob Thompson is the exception, obviously, the culture. But which is what I want to get to about the White Sox that we have not mentioned. It is not Tony La Russa there anymore.
No Tony La Russa
Everyone was
anymore,
critical of that hire. Right. So I don't even know who's their manager this year. Are you? I don't even know if I'm aware. Do you know?
I forget who they hired. Who did they hire?
Is it Miguel Cairo? I'm gonna look it up. White Sox manager. I thought it was gonna be Miguel Cairo, but Pedro Grifol?
I
don't even know who's. I don't know who that is. I'll be real with you. I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you know who that is?
I don't know either.
Well, but here's my thing, right?
No Tony La Russa, though.
Maybe. What is that?
No Tony La Russa this year, though.
Yeah, and he. But that was people were very critical of that hire, and he was not the right guy for that job. He was not the right guy.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I mean, what is Tony? Is Tony in his like 80s now, trying to connect with these players? And
he's
it
like
just
99. I don't know what he is, dude. He shouldn't be in baseball anymore.
It didn't seem like he was connecting the players whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
right, and so
you got to find a guy who's
it's a different culture there, man. But I agree with you. Maybe it's the health is the number one thing with the White Sox, because Robert needs to stay healthy. Eloy Jimenez needs to stay healthy. Those guys that have had injury problems need to stay healthy. I think another big one, man, Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito, huge. And I know you're a big prospects guy. I mean, how big of a prospect was Michael Kopech coming up? When Kopech is healthy, nasty,
nuts.
filthy.
I don't know. I just need to see them put it together. You know what I mean?
I know. No, I agree. I don't think we're in disagreement. I'm just talking about hypotheticals here, right? That's what we do.
Oh, hypothetically, on paper, the White Sox look really good. They have a new manager in Grifol who we just figured out, and I looked him up. He spent 9 years in the minor leagues between the Twins and Mets when he played. So he didn't really never was in the majors. So according to this, so he failed to get to AAA. So yeah, he's got a little bit of a chip in his shoulder. He's usually these guys make good managers, good coaches, right?
Right.
So hopefully he can connect with this team. They've been an underwhelming performing team the past few years. I mean, they've had a lot of talent. I don't know in that division. It's tough because I feel like it's Cleveland, Twins, and then the White Sox still, even with the talent that the White Sox do have. I feel like if you compare it to, like, I don't know, the Eagles of the dream team, right? That's kind of like how I feel a little bit. Like they have all this talent, but couldn't put it together.
Yeah, I just think I'm just trying to make a case for the White Sox here because I think there is a case. I think the case is that, and I know a lot of it's if everything goes right, and most of the time, a lot of things don't go right? Sometimes not everything goes right. But I mean, just a couple of years ago, Lucas Giolito was looking like a premier pitcher in baseball. Just a year ago, Lance Lynn was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Dylan Cease was one of the best pitchers in baseball just this past year. Clevenger, I don't know what's going to, I mean, Clevenger hasn't been Mike Clevenger in like 3 to 4 years, really. So Clevenger's an interesting one, but Kopech's a wild card. So I don't know. But all I'm saying is that these guys, like you said, they have all the talent. It's just about, I guess, all these guys clicking at the right time.
You can look great on paper. You can look. Yeah, like you look great on paper. I mean, how the Phillies look great on paper for the past few years, and it took them how long to get to the playoffs, right? So you can look great on paper, but it's about putting it together, having the right guy leading the helm. Tony La Russa wasn't that guy. He couldn't do it for him. So
yeah. All right. So we're both in agreement there. Cleveland wins the AL Central once again. Not playing sexy baseball, but they always get it done there with Tito Francona at manager. So let's talk about the National League Central, man. Another one. I assume you saw the whole Corbin Burns arbitration thing. He's not too happy with the Brewers, how they handled that. That sucks for the Brewers. That sucks for baseball to see one of their superstars in the sport, not having a great relationship with his team publicly, which sucks. The Brewers are an interesting one, man, to me, man. Brewers are very interesting. Cardinals are coming off of, winning the division. Our Philadelphia Phillies kicking their ass in the wild card round. There's some interesting storylines to me, man. But to me, like, I'm just gonna say it off the bat, like, it's the Cardinals division to lose. Like the Brewers can't just keep trying to win just off pitching. Like they have to have a little bit of offense, and you can't have Willy Adames be your. And I like Willy Adames. I think he's a great hitter, a great player, but he can't be the key cog in your machine. So I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on the NL Central?
Heading into this division, this is the Cardinals division to lose. I mean, I'm very curious though. I mean, they're losing two all timers in Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina. They're both gone. I mean, what's that going to look like? How big of a factor is that going to play into them? But I mean, if you just go down, I mean, Pittsburgh, do they really have a shot? I mean, we know the GOAT Andrew McCutcheon's back. He's the man there in Pittsburgh. I mean, is he going to make that much of a difference? Right? I don't think so. But I mean, they did get Wilson Contreras adding it into this team, so I think that's a plus for the St. Louis Cardinals this year. But I mean, the Cubs, they signed Dansby Swanson to that mega deal this year. Didn't really see that one coming. He leaves his hometown of Atlanta. I still think Cardinals win. I think their pitching's too good. I think they have some really good young talent. But yeah, I mean, who's going to compete with them? Is Milwaukee really going to compete with them? I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, Milwaukee was in the race kind of for the wild card last year, but they've lost some guys. I don't know.
Milwaukee turned into the Phillies, dude. They started losing to the Marlins, and that's why we got in the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, thank you, Milwaukee, for that, as well as trading Josh Hader too. So I
Right.
mean,
What that's they don't know what they're doing over there,
like
man.
it's
Like
just
I don't.
weird. What
It's
is
just
their
very odd.
identity? What like I just
They don't have one.
they really don't like they're it's kind of confusing some of the moves they made this year.
I mean,
I don't know.
let's be real though. I still think so. I still think the Cardinals win the division overall, but Milwaukee still. So I still think their pitching is very good. It's not like Corbin Burns isn't going to be pitching this year. He's still going to be pitching.
Right.
He's still one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Like,
Still have
great
Woodruff
pitching.
over there.
Great start.
Yeah. Yeah. Still have Freddie Peralta. You still have great starting pitching over there. And you still have one of the nastiest closers in the game in Devin Williams. He's got some of the nastiest stuff in baseball. So I don't know. I still like their pitching. Their bullpen. I don't love their bullpen, but I still like it. Especially the back end there. I think a big X factor, and Dan Plesac, I think, brought this up on MLB Network, and maybe this still isn't enough for them, but Jesse Winker has to be Jesse Winker from Cincinnati, because Jesse Winker was not Jesse Winker of Cincinnati in Seattle last year. He was very underwhelming, and we're going to get to some underwhelming and players here in just a second. But Jesse Winker's a big one for them, man. If they want any chance to just compete in this division with the St. Louis Cardinals, Jesse Winker has to be the Jesse Winker of the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, and I mean, they lose their second baseman, they lose kind of their catcher, so they're adjusting there too. I mean, I don't know if they have enough offense. I mean, that's where I'm at. I don't know if they have enough offense. I mean, they've lost a bunch of guys this year, so I mean, they lost McCutchen, they lost Renfroe, they lost Colton Wong, they've lost some guys. Yeah. So I don't know. Do they make that jump this year to beat the Cardinals? I mean, the Cardinals. I get they lost 2 all-timers, but the Cardinals still have a great foundation offensively. So I think the Cardinals. This is a division that they should win, barring any catastrophic injury problems.
And this let's keep it a buck. Like, this is a really boring division. Like,
the
Cardinals. The Cardinals. All right, let's be real. The Cardinals are a wild card team. They're a wild card team that is a divisional winner because they're playing in a terrible division. The Pirates.
Well, you don't think
they could?
We don't think the Cubs are interesting. No love for the Cubs.
Are interesting. I'll try. I'm trying to be respectful to each team and try to make a case for each team. I couldn't do it for the Pirates or the Reds, for that matter. I mean, we don't even really need to mention the Reds. The extent that I mentioned the Reds was with Jesse Winker in Milwaukee. That's exactly I'm sorry. No. I will say I'm excited to watch Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo.
Yeah.
I love to watch Hunter Green play pitch.
Yeah, Hunter Green's great.
Yeah, but I mean, he threw the highest velo fastballs, whatever, last year, whatever that stat was. But that's all you're getting out of me, Cincinnati. I'm sorry. So Chicago is interesting. They're fun. They're intriguing because Cody Bellinger's there. Trey Mancini's there. Yeah, Dansby's there. I guess sort of like the White Sox, like on paper, they have a lot of talent. You got Dansby, you got Seiya Suzuki, Nico Horner. You're a big prospect guy. Nico Horner has been one of the more highly touted prospects in baseball the last couple of years. He's looking pretty solid.
They have the names. But they have the names.
Right. I think they top out, to be real. That for me, they're just the way I'm looking at it right now. They top out at about 80 wins. And I think it's a win for them if they can get to 77 to 80 wins. I think that's good for them. But I could also see a scenario where they only win 65 to 70 games. I'm just keeping it real. I like Marcus Stroman. He struggled a little bit last year. I'm trying to think who else is there in Chicago on that pitching staff. I don't know. I mean, obviously not enough to remember. I like the kid Keegan Thompson there, but besides that, there's not too much in Chicago, pitching wise. I think there's Justin Steele as well. He's a young, nice little pitcher. But
so DraftKings has them at plus 650 to win the division this year. The Chicago Cubs, third behind the Cardinals at minus 120, the Brewers at plus 160.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I forgot they did add Jameson Taillon this year as well. They did add Jameson Taillon, so that's a solid pickup for them. But yeah, I'll give him 78 wins this year. That's where I'm going to give him
78. All right, that's fair. I guess that's
yeah,
fair, right?
third place.
Yeah, most of the books have them at plus 600. Plus 600 for BetMGM to win. So they're third behind the Cardinals and Brewers. Like the Brewers, do they take that step back though? Like if the Cubs do take that step forward with all the offensive high-powered offensive players that they added with Swanson, with Mancini, with the Bellingers, if they can actually perform up to what we think they can on paper, yeah, I mean the Cubs could compete at least for a wild card spot this year. I could totally see that, but it depends. Are the Brewers where are the Brewers at? I think the X factor in this division is the Brewers. Are the Brewers going to be that good offensively? I don't see it, especially losing a couple of guys that they did. I mean, they weren't fantastic offensively last year, and they found a way to choke it in September anyway. So
exactly.
I think
the last day of the year.
Yeah, I think that the X factor is the Brewers because the Cardinals shouldn't lose it to this division. No way. I mean, there's not a ton of talent here. The Reds stink. The Pirates stink. The Cubs still don't know what they are yet. And they could just be a total mitigated disaster. I mean, it's a very real possibility that all these guys don't really pan out. It's just how they have. I mean, Cody Bellinger especially. So it's the X factor is the Brewers in this division.
And no one's rooting, I think, harder than every single baseball fan in America, unless you're like a San Francisco Giants fan, than Cody Bellinger to come back and be Cody Bellinger of old, because he has a pretty swing. One of the more fun players to watch in baseball in general. Still a great fielder. Still got to give him that credit. So no one's rooting harder than I think us.
Yeah, the bat just hasn't been there. I mean, it just hasn't been there. And what you expect out of Bellinger is him to produce at the plate. I mean, he like you mentioned has that great swing, has done it in the past, but where's he at? Where's he at now? And he just, I don't know. Maybe the change of scenery will be good for him leaving out.
Yeah, and he's slated to hit 7th in this lineup, man. It's supposed to be Horner, Swanson. Yeah. Yeah, Happ, Suzuki, Hosmer is slated to hit 5th. Okay, there you go. So I think we'll just wrap up by saying I think I'll say Cardinals 90 wins, safely wins the division by about 6 or 7 games, I'd say.
Okay, I like that. I think they get it right around 89, 88 wins in this division. I think they win by like 4 games. I think that would be probably my prediction over the Brewers. I don't know what to make of the Brewers yet. I really I really don't know what to make of them. Their off season was a little confusing. So I think the Cardinals still win. I'm with you. The Cardinals win this division.
All right, so we'll get to our next divisional breakdowns next episode. So make sure you tune in for that next week. It's going to be exciting. Whatever division that we get to next week, stay tuned for that. So Nick, let's wrap up the first episode of The Shift here. We'll quickly just go through. I like to do this type of stuff. Let's talk about sleepers and players that you think are going to be underwhelming this year. We're going to go one each for, one sleeper, one underwhelming for each of us. So, you know what? Let's start with the sleeper, and I want to get your thoughts first. Who is your sleeper going into this year?
My sleeper this year, defensively at least, Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins is in a contract year, in a big contract year, has to make improvements defensively. Has to. And I saw a video the other day, Francisco. I forget which reporter put it out. He was taking ground balls at first base. He was working on his, pick plays and all. Oh, I think you see an improved defensive Rhys Hoskins this year. I really do. I think it's possible. He's not going to be at the top of the list for first baseman in errors. You're not going to see him up there this year. He's going to make the improvements, Francisco. It's going to happen. Now, for you, it doesn't matter if he makes errors or not. But I think in a contract year, you're going to see an elevated, more consistent Rhys Hoskins this year. I think he, especially with no shift, I think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be trying to put the ball in the stands every single time. I want to see him a little more contact. You know what I mean? I know he's a power hitter. I get all that, but we know the strikeout numbers are up, right? I think you're going to see a little bit more of Rhys Hoskins in the field, better defensively, in a contract year. I think his average is going to go a tick up this year. Rhys Hoskins, player to watch, my sleeper candidate this year.
But so hold up, though. Hold up. You think with the shift gone now, you think Rhys is just going to be a contact hitter now?
No, I don't think he's going to be a contact hitter, but I think you're going to see his batting average. I think you're going to see it go up. I really do. I think you're going to see the batting average go up.
Yeah, that happened like 2 years ago, his batting average. Remember that year where he kind of was a little more aggressive and not getting on base as much? That didn't do anything for him. He was the same hitter. He was putting up the same.
Listen,
he was the
contract year, he's going to make the adjustment. Just watch. Just wait for it. You're going to see more base hits
for the last couple of years.
You're going to see more base hits from Rhys Hoskins this year. Just watch.
I don't think he cares that he's in a contract year. I mean, he does, but I
think it makes a whole world of difference.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to make him look, man. I don't know. I'm not there yet with Rhys. I don't think, and I hope he does. And if he leads the league in errors again, I don't care, man. Scott Rowland led the league in errors every year because he tried to get to every ball that he freaking could, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So you know what? Rhys Hoskins,
Hall of Famer Rhys Hoskins?
So you can get the Cooperstown.
Hall of Famer Rhys Hoskins? Is that what we're going?
Hall of Famer Rhys Hoskins. Take that, Tom Kelly. All right.
I can't wait for him to hear this segment. I can't wait for Tom Kelly to hear this segment.
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to TK, our fantastic coworker slash host at Sports Radio WIP. One of our favorites. So shout out to TK. But I mean, I guess I like your pick. I guess I'm not going to give you all the credit in the world, but just because we're friends and we do this podcast, I guess I have to give you a little bit of credit.
Yeah, just
a little bit. So I'm gonna stick with the same position, and I think this is somebody that people aren't really thinking about too much because he hasn't. It's not like he had a bad year last year. He just didn't have those home run numbers and RBI numbers like he normally does. Same position, new team with the Houston Astros, Jose Abreu. I think that Jose Abreu had a good year last year. I think he still had 40-plus doubles. He still had a lot. He's still a very good hitter on an underwhelming team in the White Sox. But Jose Abreu is going to be hitting between. I understand he's 36 years old, but hear me out. He's going to be hitting in a loaded lineup in Houston. We know how good Houston is. We just lost them in the World Series. We know how good they are. You still got Jose Altuve there, still a premier hitter in baseball. No matter how much you hate him for the sign stealing stuff, still a great player. Alex Bregman has rebounded in the last couple of years. He's going to be hitting between Yordan Alvarez, one of the best hitters in baseball, and one of the best hitters in baseball, maybe one of the most underrated, I think, and Kyle Tucker. He's going to be hitting right between them. He's going to be seeing very good pitches. Houston is a loaded lineup. I can see Jose Abreu, even at 36 years old, man, having a career year for the Houston Astros. I know.
He did have 40. He did have 40 doubles last year. His second most in his career in a season.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I think that it's not someone that we're thinking like, oh, because I was going to do somebody like a Nick Castellanos. We talked about this before.
That's easy. Show. That's easy.
It's too easy though. It's too easy. I wanted to make it, a little bit fun. So I think Abreu's an interesting one. He's not someone that maybe comes to mind. I just think he's going to have a monster year with the Astros and might have a career year into his late 30s. I don't know, man. Jose Abreu is just he really kind of flew under the radar for me a little bit when we were thinking about these. And I think he's an interesting one, and I think it's really intriguing.
I think he flies under the radar just because of how talented the Astros are in that lineup. He's going to see pitches like you mentioned. I mean, I feel like he's going to be kind of forgotten at times that, hey, Abreu, he's been a very good player for a long time. And now he's on a championship level team. He not a lot of pressure to him to perform as well as maybe he had to it in Chicago. I think that allows for someone to break out. So I do like that pick for sure.
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing before we get to the sleepers, Jose Abreu is used to being under the radar, okay? Because the White Sox, not until a couple of years ago, became, one of the more exciting teams in baseball. Right. Once they had Giolito, once they had Moncada and Eloy Jimenez and Robert, and slowly developed that young core. But the White Sox weren't good for a while. But Abreu was always posting up great numbers, great power numbers. Was always a super good contact hitter, just all around really good player. So I think he's used to this. So let's get to the sleepers though, Nick, and I will start with you once again. Who is your sorry, I said sleeper. I meant to say underwhelming.
Yeah.
So this is who someone that has had a good couple of years, or maybe had a good year last year, and that has high expectations this year, but isn't going to perform. So Nick, who do you like?
I think this one was pretty easy for me to take. Justin Verlander. I don't see Justin Verlander having this 1.75 ERA at 40 years old. He's making the jump to New York. I think he was paid based upon his performance last season by Steve Cohen, because Steve Cohen just loves throwing out money. I don't see Justin Verlander being this great, insane 18-game winner this year with the Mets. I just don't see it happening. I think the Mets are going to be a solid team again, but I just have this feeling that Verlander, age is finally going to start catching up with him. Is he going to be healthy? We know he already missed the season in 2021, had the injury back then. Came back last year, pitched extremely well. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him at his age, which, listen, Verlander's a Hall of Famer, great player, not taking anything away from him. There's no way I see him having an ERA under 2 again. It's just not going to happen. I think this one's pretty easy. Justin Verlander not going to be this Cy Young type pitcher anymore. I think this is going to be the year he makes the jump to New York, the Mets, and we know all the expectations the Mets always have, the amount of money they've spent. I don't think Verlander is going to live up to him. I could see him possibly maybe spending some time on the IL this year based upon his age, based upon his injury history the past couple of years. I think this is the year that age starts to catch up to Justin Verlander. Still, I think he's still going to be a good pitcher. Maybe like a 3 ERA. I think he might stick around there, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the level he was last year, just based upon his age. I think last year, hey, great comeback, something great we saw. Verlander's not going to be that same type Cy Young level pitcher. That's my prediction this year.
Yeah, the only pushback I'll give you, Nick. Yeah, the only pushback that I'll give you is that, I mean, Verlander was coming off Tommy John last year.
He was.
And he had
ridiculous.
He arguably had, you could say he had like the best season of his career. I think he did miss a couple of starts. So you could be right there. I mean, he's old, but
175 innings pitched last year. 175 innings pitched last year.
Yeah.
Heading into his age 40 season. And he played in the and he pitched in the World Series deep into last year. I don't know. I just have a feeling that it could catch up to him, especially with how long last season went in Houston. He pitched all those innings at his age. I think he's still going to be a very good pitcher. I don't see him being a Cy Young level candidate this year. Okay. That's why I consider him underwhelming. Not going to be at this. That's why I picked him for underwhelming. I still think he's going to be a good pitcher, but he's not going to be up to that level that we all expect him to be again. You know what I mean? Right. I don't see it replicating.
I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I can't doubt JV like that, man. I can't doubt him coming off of TJ missing really. I mean, he went down with TJ or went down with the injury in 2020 in his his first start of the COVID shortened season. So, I mean, he missed almost 2 years, man. It came back I mean, come on, man. So I understand where you're coming from, and I totally respect that. But at the same time, for me, I can't doubt JV.
Not going to doubt him. I'm placing a little bit of doubt. I don't see him having this. His ERA is not going to be under 2. I cannot see him again being under 2 ERA. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I mean, in 18, when he was an all-star, he had a 2.52 ERA. In 19, he was an all-star, 2.58. Last year, I think was ridiculous. Came off Tommy John the 2 years. No way in heck it's going to be under 2 again. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, so for mine, we're going to stick with the theme of the New York Mets. I guess sort of a kind of a easy one, but at the same time, I don't think people are really thinking about him. I mean, he had an unbelievable year last year. Closer Edwin Diaz. He was unbelievable last year. He was, arguably the best closer in baseball. Look, even as a Phillies fan, I appreciated his walkout with the trumpets. I liked it. I enjoyed it, Nick. But Edwin Diaz was unbelievable last year. Coming off, I think, an okay 2021. I believe he was good. but he wasn't what he was last year. I mean, he was one of the best closers in baseball. People were calling him basically the DeGrom of relief pitchers. I mean, because they had, very similar pitch arsenals. They both throw fastball and sliders, at the same, through the same tunnel, the same movement, all that. But I'll go back to Edwin Diaz's 2018 year when he was nasty. He was, one of the best closers in baseball. And the next year was one of the worst relievers in baseball. I could see that happening again. I could totally see that happening with Edwin Diaz again. I don't think that, and maybe kind of sticking with the same theme that you're talking about there with Justin Verlander, I don't think there's any way he has the same type of year he had last year. I think he had an ERA under 1.5, if I'm not mistaken. I might have to check on that. But either way, he was one of the best. It was him. It was Class A. Like that. It was those two. Like that's all it was. It was that
1-3-1.
those two. Maybe
1-3-1
right.
ERA.
Exactly. It's my whole point. So I don't see him having that same type of year. But again, I could see him having a terrible year just because of how it played out with 2018 and 2019 when he was in Seattle. So that's Edwin Diaz is my pick. I guess we're going to stick with the Mets theme here. We're showing our true colors as Phillies fans.
How can we not hit on the Mets, right? I mean, how can you not?
Of course.
It's just in our
100 wins
blood,
and you lose in the wild card round?
Yeah.
Come on.
It was ridiculous, the choke job in New York. I mean, all this money.
So
listen, I think we're both kind of on the same page with our underwhelming picks because, listen, I think Verlander's still going to be a very formidable pitcher. I can't see him having an ERA under 2. I can't see him going out there and winning 18 games this year. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think Verlander's going to be this Cy Young type level again. You know what I mean? I just don't see it happening, especially making the move from Houston to now New York. It's a whole different atmosphere. A lot of pressure on the Mets too this year to start winning and get wins in the playoffs this year. So, and they spent a lot of money. So I don't see Verlander being this top level under 2 ERA type pitcher. I just think it's going to be hard to replicate, and that's why I feel like it'll be underwhelming.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Just to add to your pick with Verlander here, you know what actually would make more sense out of the criteria you're using with Verlander? I think Scherzer would make even more sense because Scherzer didn't make it. I think he had like 20. I think he had less starts than Verlander last year. I think he had at least 5 starts less than. So I think your argument would actually work even more with Scherzer. So I understand. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. That's their top 2 starters right there, man. Look at that. Yeah, go screw the Mets. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, I'm with you. I can't wait till we get to the East at some point down the line in one of our episodes. That is going to be a lot of fun because, we started with the Central today. It was like, there's some storylines there.
We're going to have to take our biases out though, bro. We're going to take those biases out.
We will.
So
we were hating on the Mets
Nick,
today, but.
Yeah. So, this was an awesome first episode, Nick. This was great. Looking forward to, some more episodes to come. It's going to be really exciting, man.
Dude, today was so fun. Our show today, my favorite hour of today, at least, right?
Yes. Well, then you got your girlfriend's birthday later, so
it is. Right. Don't tell her I said that. So just we might have to edit this out. So I'm only kidding. Happy birthday to her, but dude, seriously, this was a lot of fun. I can't wait. More episodes on the way every week. We're gonna have some content out on the socials. Gonna be so much fun. Can't wait to do it again next week.
Yeah. So speaking of socials, go make sure you follow both of our Twitters. They are on the little Sports Center thingamajigger below. Yeah, go follow us there. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the TikTok again. It's I forgot it already. It's okay. I'm gonna go find it. I'm not a TikToker, but Francisco's on the app. _shift_. There it is, baby. Go make sure you follow us there.
It's the extra underscore. The extra underscore you forgot.
Extra one. Remember that extra underscore. And also remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will have a video coming this week, and I'll just give you a little tease right now. It's going to be a pitcher and a hitter that are going to benefit the most from these rule changes that we talked about at the beginning of the show. So go make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Shift on YouTube, with Francisco Rojas and Nick Earnshaw. So that's going to do it for us, and we'll see you guys next week.